Okay, what the fuck? What is MMA at this point? Y'all already know what happened. I'm not even gonna bother getting into any intro talking about nothing because this was definitely one of the craziest moments of the year. Definitely the craziest moment of the year, but this might be the craziest moment in recent UFC history. Sean Strickland goes in there and pretty much dominates Israel Adesanya. There were a few close rounds here and there, but overall, Sean Strickland was doing very good and kind of went about the game plan that I said would work best. Didn't incorporate a lot of grappling. I was disappointed in that. I think that would have helped them a lot more, but damn, he still was able to win the fight. Outstruck the legendary kickboxer in Israel Adesanya, a guy who is so technical. This is absolutely insane. Guys, I'm going to break down everything and more that happened. UFC 293, that main event was just worth the whole pay-per-view. Like, wow, that was an insane fight. Before we get into anything, I just want to remind you guys to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. We're almost at our goal here by the end of the year, so if you guys could just hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share just to help me out with that. We got a few months left, and just, yeah, about 3 pay-per-views left of the year, so we're almost here at the end of the year, and man, this is definitely probably going to be the craziest moment of the year. Like, I cannot think of any other thing that's going to be crazier than this. First, Sean Strickland manages to upset everybody and beats Aljo when people say, hey, there's no chance, including myself. I thought that there was no chance Sean was going to win, and then all of a sudden, I say the same thing about Sean Strickland. I say, man, I just don't see him winning the fight. He is able to win the fight in the way that I said, the only way that he would be able to win the fight, and that was a decision, right? And it kind of went about as I expected. Well, not as I expected, of course. I expected Adesanya to win, but if there was a scenario where you guys told me, hey, Sean Strickland is going to win this fight, this is a scenario where I would have came up with. Obviously, the first round was very close, and I was like, wow, this fight is extremely close, and I thought that Adesanya was fighting very poorly. And I want to talk about multiple reasons for this. So first of all, I thought maybe he was hurt, and I still don't know. Maybe there was a problem with that back leg. I noticed that he wasn't really going southpaw so much, which is, you know, usually he's going back and forth in his stances. He did say something to Dana White. He's like, oh, I gotta talk to you after the fight. Maybe he's gonna say, hey, I was injured. Maybe he broke that left hand. Maybe that's why he said something to his coach, Eugene Behrman. He was like, hey, I can't find the jab. Maybe it was because of that broken left hand. I don't know. I have no idea. There's no reason for me to think this. I have to go watch it through again and say, hey, did he even land that left hand? He might have landed a few jabs on Sean. I'm not really 100% sure, if I'm gonna be honest. But my point is, overall, is that, hey, maybe there was an issue there. Maybe one of those hands were broken. Maybe one of those legs were broken. But regardless, the first round was extremely close. And at the end of it, one of the most shocking moments of me watching UFC happen, Sean Strickland dropped Izzy. Like, Pereira wasn't even able to drop Izzy in the MMA fights, right? That is what's really insane, and this is why MMA makes no sense. Cannonier gets dominated by Izzy. Cannonier wins a decision against Strickland. Yes, I know, very close decision and probably a robbery in most people's opinions, including myself. I thought Strickland won that fight, but regardless, somehow he's able to beat Strickland. Like, this sport is absolutely insane, but I digress. First round goes to Strickland. Second round was very close. I saw some people giving it to Izzy, but watching it, I was like, no, this is definitely Sean Strickland's round. Glad to see eventually when I went online and on Twitter, a lot of people agreed with me and the scorecard was correct. Third round was very close. However, I did give it to Adesanya. I thought he had a good flurry in the center of the octagon with his kicks. I thought that kind of helped him win the round, and Sean wasn't exactly so active, but near the end of that round, Sean was doing very, very good. Then I think it's clear as day, fourth and fifth round, you got to give to Sean. I mean, the fifth round was a little close, just like the judges. I gave it 4-1 to Sean Strickland, but I think there's an argument for 3-2, and honestly, I think there's an argument for maybe all 5 rounds, if I'm going to be honest. It was a very close fight. A lot of those rounds were close, but overall, I would say whoever won the overall fight, forget rounds, forget anything. If we're just going to judge this off 25 minutes, I think most people can agree Strickland won that fight. It was clear as day. He bruised up Adesanya. Adesanya had swelling under his eye, and this is why, man, you can never count any of these dudes out. Now, what did Sean Strickland do wrong? What did Israel Adesanya do wrong? What did they do right? Strickland did what he was supposed to do. You have to push back Adesanya, something that I thought Cannonier should have done, and why I was like, hey, this fight might be closer to the fight with Cannonier and Adesanya. I thought, hey, you gotta push back Izzy, right? Because Izzy is so technical that if you just let him do what you want, he's gonna annihilate you, right? He'll annihilate you any day. You cannot be in the center with him, and you saw any moment that they were in the center, Izzy was doing very good. That is why I picked him in that third round and to win that round. I thought he won it simply because that exchange was in the center. He was able to, you know, mess with Sean Strickland. Another thing is just I found Izzy kept trying to load up that right hand, and look, that was the same shot that took out Pereira. So he was kind of trying to emulate that shot, but Izzy multiple times kept trying to attempt that big overhand, you know, that jab covering the eyes and that big overhand behind it. He tried to do that to Strickland multiple times, but Strickland is one of those guys, man. He might not be technically defensive, which I saw some people online saying he was going to get hit with a head kick. I saw people on Twitter pointing out, you know, a few of his defense. And yes, there are holes in his defense, and is he the most technically defensive? Absolutely not. I know he has, you know, the whole Floyd Mayweather guard, but it's not really that defensive in actuality. Technically, and of course, I'm talking about in MMA and boxing, it's different, but technically, yes, he's not defensive, but what makes him good defensively is his instincts. It's the fact that he has sparred so many times, have seen those shots coming. His cardio is tremendous. And another thing is when you're going on the front foot, Sean Strickland's main defense is going backwards, right? So the only way you're going to catch Sean Strickland, in my opinion, is if you're pushing the dude backwards, or you're setting something up technically like Alex Pereira Pereira did, and I thought that Adesanya should have came into this fight with a few different setups, said, hey man, I'm going to try to get Sean Strickland to do this when I'm throwing this, get him used to it, and it would have to be a technical shot to knock out Sean Strickland. That is why I picked Adesanya by decision. I figured he was going to leg kick him, jab him up, and I thought he would win most of those rounds pretty clearly. I said it would be closer than most people thought, but I did think that maybe, you know, Sean Strickland would have a flurry here and there. I didn't think that he would actually be able to win some rounds. I think Adesanya, if they do the rematch, which is another thing we're going to talk about, he has to be pushing Sean Strickland backwards, and I think work on his footwork. There was a lot of moments where Adesanya could have circled out back into the open, but he didn't. He was too comfortable on the outside, and that is what happened with Pereira. Now, Pereira is a bigger guy. He has better footwork, so Adesanya didn't have much of a choice there, but I felt like with Strickland, there was definitely opportunities for him to slip out through the back and get out in the open, and that's what he should have done. Now, maybe this was fatigue. You know, Sean Strickland is a volume guy, pushing you backwards at all times, and Adesanya, this is a very stressful situation for him, I'm sure. You know, that cardio is going to get drained, that energy is going to get drained, so I don't know if that had a part to play in it. It just, to me, Adesanya looked a little off. I think he was, I kind of think he was injured, as much as I feel bad taking this away from Sean Strickland. To me, Sean did what I expected him to do. If he was going to win, I said this, guys. I said, look, he's going to push him backwards, land some shots, outland Izzy, and yeah, he did all that. The only thing that really surprised me about him was the fact he was able to hurt Izzy. That was the only thing I thought, but I thought if he was going to win, it was going to be from volume. So I think that there is a pathway to beat Strickland. I think if you find a guy that's over-aggressive, really aggressive, a guy like Oliveira who pushes you backwards, that's going to be a problem for Sean Strickland, because he's going to wind up going backwards and get hit with a massive shot, because technically he's not all there, but his instincts are good enough that he could evade a lot of those shots. So I think you got to really set something up, as well as push him backwards, as well as have some space. It's harder said than done, of course, because Sean Strickland is definitely a really good pressure fighter. Man, I would not have imagined this, man, a couple months ago when I made a video predicting him and Abus Magomedov. But you got to say, you know, Abus definitely has to feel better about that loss now, because he looked terrible in that fight. If I'm Abus, I'm like, man, you know what? I'm not feeling so bad about myself. Let me get back out there. You know what I mean? And I think one of my bigger questions is, you know, what's next, right? And I want to get into that. You know, obviously you got Dricus du Plessis waiting. Next month is Paulo Costa versus Khamzat Chimaev. So you're going to have those two contenders out of plus Izzy. There's three guys that could possibly fight Sean Strickland for this title, which is an insane sentence to say, I know, but there are three people that could fight him, including Cannonier, who weighed in as a backup, who had a close fight with Sean Strickland, so you can even add him in the mix again. He had a really good performance against Marvin Vettori a couple months ago. You could even add him back in there. He has a couple wins now, including one less than a year ago from the champion, Sean Strickland. So I'm just curious what's next. I don't think Cannonier is going to get the next shot. You know, who wants to really see a Strickland versus Cannonier rematch? And I personally don't want to see an Adesanya rematch right now. Look, guys, look, I'm not saying that Adesanya doesn't deserve it, right? I know that there's some people online saying he shouldn't get a rematch. He doesn't deserve it. I think he deserves it. I wouldn't be angry. Look, the dude has had a lot of title defenses, right? The only other loss he has at middleweight is to Alex Pereira, who Sean Strickland lost to, right? So, I mean, you know, that's not exactly such a bad loss. And I mean, you look at the accomplishments he's had. I mean, I'm not exactly the biggest Izzy fan, but you know, he did beat Robert Whittaker twice, beat Marvin Vettori twice. Like, the guy has done a lot of good things at middleweight. I'm not looking forward to that rematch simply because this decision was kind of a dominant one, and you know, I think a lot of people are going to go into that expecting a similar outcome. However, I would like Izzy to take a fight, and specifically what I want to see him fight is if Khamzat Chimaev does beat Paulo Costa. That could be a main event to a pay-per-view, guys. Like, that is legit a main event. That is a massive fight that I would be excited for, as if it was for a title, right? I would be super excited for that fight. You could do it even for an interim title if you really wanted to justify it to be a main event. And then I guess in the meantime, you could do Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. It did seem like Dana White was more leaning towards an Israel Adesanya rematch. I'm not looking forward to that, but regardless, what are we going to do with Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev and Jared Cannonier? Like, those three guys, I think Cannonier is probably going to have to get another matchup, but you'd assume the winner of Khamzat and Costa would probably have to face off against Dricus du Plessis if they're going to do this rematch, or this whole division is going to get backed up. But you really got to feel bad for Dricus, right? He deserved to be in the spot tonight. Yes, he decided not to show up because of an injury, but that wasn't really his fault, dude. The guy fought less than 2 months before. It was really the UFC's fault. They should have scheduled him the fight in June in Vancouver, and even then, that's a fast turnaround. They should have handled it better. They should have done something better. And yeah, overall, my thoughts, holy shit, what a crazy main event. What a crazy upset. One of the craziest upsets. I mean, this year, when you're looking at upsets, I mean, Volkanovski didn't win. That was a massive upset. Jamal Hill was even winning a massive upset. Adesanya KOing Alex Pereira was an upset. I know some people picked him, but I picked Pereira, and I didn't expect him to knock him out at least. Leon winning again was an upset. John Jones, etc. There has been a lot of upsets. And yeah, this year has been absolutely insane for the UFC. And this is a crazy fact, too. I mean, Holly Holm KO'd Ronda Rousey at UFC 193 in Australia. And exactly 100 pay-per-views later, similar situation, upset, main event. Israel Adesanya gets dethroned from Sean Strickland, who is now the UFC middleweight champion. And that is a statement I don't know if I'm ever going to get used to saying until he loses, or maybe he retires and just is the greatest middleweight of all time. You never know what this sport is going to bring. Guys, thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best fans of MMA. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys want to see next. Let me know who you guys think is going to get paired up next for the middleweight division. How would you guys mix this whole thing up? There's a lot of different options. Definitely a lot of good opinions out there. You know, I don't think you can get mad at really any of these options. So let me know in the comment section below. Let me know. know, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.